Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel, I'm for Classic and welcome to BenchART. So for today what I do have in it is Amnesia Rebirth, a game developed by Frictional Games, and it is using their in-house technology called HPL 3.5. Alright, so as you can see, today we are here to test my Intel HD 620 and performance. Well, this is not performance, this is just a PowerPoint slideshow, right? So let's take a look first on the settings. I have the solution for you, don't worry. So first of all, 720p, I'm using Windows only to record. There is no difference to full screen in performance. Frame rate you can select between 15, 30 and 60. We will select 60 for now, and I'm using the absolutely minimum settings aside from anti-aliasing that I set to FXAA, texture quality on high, and texture filtering on anisotropic 4. But I will put every stuff to minimum, none of the less, just for you to see the difference. Alright, so it still underperforms. Frame rates are horrible. It continues to be a PowerPoint slideshow, and it looks worse. Alright, the only good thing about playing at this texture quality is that you don't need more than 8 GB of RAM. Alright, but if you go with texture quality on high, my recommendation is for you to have 16 on dual channel. Alright, but let's jump to the settings that I do care the most, which is just boost the anti-aliasing, texture quality to high, and anisotropic filtering at 4. So as you can see, textures are much better, but we still don't have decent performance, right? So the secret on this game to get a decent performance, it is to use dynamic resolution. But dynamic resolution, it is tied to the frame rate that you do select. So if you have 60 frames per second selected, the game will try to achieve 60 frames per second as much as possible by dropping as much as it can as the internal resolution. So everything looks very pixelated, but as you can see, the game it is running amazing, in fact. But we don't really need 60 frames per second on this game, so I will apply a lock to 30 frames per second, and by using this you get some perfect locked 30 frames per second, and resolution, it doesn't seem that bad, in fact. So yeah, amazing. I can go to portals, performance is there without any single drop, amazing. So let's take a look on the requirements. So for the minimum settings, these guys ask for an A3 or an FX CPU, 4 gigs of RAM. This is if you are using a dedicated graphic card. So we are using an integrated graphic card, so I do recommend you to have at least 8 GB of RAM on dual channel. And as you can see, for the minimum of the graphic cards, they say that the minimum it is an Intel HD 630. We have the 620, so we are below the minimum, but the game it is running fine. So I decided to try the game with two different settings. So I started with low settings, and the average was 28 frames per second, and the 1% low it was 15. The game was mostly between 30 to 40 frames per second, sometimes even higher in darker places with no shadows or too much illumination from the candles. But as soon as you get to areas with a lot of shadows and candles and stuff like that, your frame rate will tank a lot, dropping to values of 15 frames per second, just like you saw. So the solution for me, it was, as I did show you, use the low settings, put the textures on high, enable anti-aliasing to FXAA, use texture filtering just like 2 times or 4 times, it is fine, and enable dynamic resolution to 30 frames per second. If you do this, your game won't drop from 30 frames per second. There is some slightly itching from time to time, but nothing really too special. And if you feel that you are getting too much itching, you can try to reduce texture quality from high to medium, for example, or from medium to low, to see if that improves. But again, let me remind you, it is fully recommended for you to use dual channel memory. It boosts the performance a lot. So in case you don't know what the hell is dual channel it is where you pair 2 different RAMs of the same capacity, for example 4 gigs plus 4 gigs or 8 gigs plus 8 gigs. So if you have 8 gigs per 4 gigs, that it is single channel. If you have only one RAM of 8 gigs, that is single channel. And if you are using single channel, your performance will be worse. Or if you use dynamic resolution, you can expect to see worse resolutions. Alright. So again, my recommendation for this game, it is 8 gigs on dual channel. For textures on low or medium. If you want to use textures on high, I recommend you to have 16 gigs of RAM on dual channel. And as you can see, yeah, shadows look horrible, but performance, it is steady at 30 frames per second on a mere Intel Ag 620, and you can buy Amnesia Rebirth because it just runs, it works. Alright, but why do you want to buy this game? Let's talk a little bit about it. Amnesia Rebirth follows the story of Amnesia series, alright? No, shocking, not surprised at all. And they keep the legacy of the Amnesia Dark Descent. I'm not going to talk about A Machine for Pigs, because A Machine for Pigs, despite it's inside the world of Amnesia, A Machine for Pigs was developed by the Chinese Room, so it's not the same developers as this Amnesia or the Amnesia Dark Descent. So, and this is a true successor for the Dark Descent. It's the same developers, and the story actually makes connections to the first game, which is quite interesting. And talking about the story, I think that's where this time around frictional games try to go for. It's still an horror game, alright, and you will spend tons of time in the dark and enemies will appear. But I feel that there is a little bit more focus into jump scares sometimes than trying to mess with your mind. They still mess with your minds, with the sounds and visuals all the time, alright? It's still like Amnesia Dark Descent, but they now added a little bit of more jump scares, which it's, sorry for the word, but it is fucked up. And they added much more, but really much more story into it. So now there is story into this game. Our character, it is always talking about how she misses Salim, which seems to be her husband, and her children. So yeah, there is a narrative, a much more stronger narrative into this game than the first Amnesia. So which means that there will be more parts of the map where you can be a little bit more relaxed, like that sequence on the desert at first. But as soon as you get to a darker place, well, prepare yourself, because it's going to be messy. Because of this, not all the people are really satisfied with this game. I mean, they are satisfied, but they really complain about that, because Amnesia Dark Descent, it was fully horror, fully dark all the time. And, well, Amnesia Rebirth have a little bit of more relaxing moments, like I did told you. And some people didn't really enjoy that. Some other people didn't really enjoy the inclusion of more jump scares. So there are a little bit of more complaint. And some other people feel and say that they don't feel as... They are not as immersive in this game as they were with Dark Descent. So there are a couple of complaints in there. So Steam scored, it is around 75%. So yeah, it's acceptable. But Metacritic have a much nicer score, around 80s. So I still do think it is an awesome game, and for its price, it is definitely amazing. It is $24.99, so it's far from being a full-priced game, none of the less. So Frictional Game continues the trend of not making full-priced games, and they continue to evolve their games. So I think it's awesome. It's really awesome on that regard. But I will leave the decision up to you. So you decide if this game it is for you or not. But what you do know at the moment is that you can play this game as I do, 1080p, maximum settings, 60 frames per second, and enjoy this horror game. So guys, thank you a lot for watching, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.
is from Selim's old diary. Careful. Torches. Someone's been here. Hello? Anyone? What's up with these places? This is so strange.
I was able to meet them in the park this afternoon after talking to the factory manager, Dinar. A proud moment. Alice has learned to count to 3 with her blocks.
She did. She showed me. In the rock. Bracelet. It's glowing again. Oh, Christ. missing.